أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 52 وعندهم قاصرات الطرف أتراب هذا ما توعدون ليوم الحساب إن هذا لرزقنا ما له من نفاد. And with them will be maidens of restrained glances of a like age. This is what you are promised on the day of reckoning. This is indeed our provision which will never be exhausted. In the description of the paradise which is promised to mu'minun, we mentioned different type of blessings and rewards that are given to them. And one other thing is about the maidens of paradise, which is mentioned in verse number 52. وَعِنْدَهُمْ قَاصِرَاتُ الطَّرْفِ. With them will be maidens of restrained glances. Now these maidens are usually called al-hur. Of course we say huri, which is just a deformed way of mentioning the hur, because hur is an Arabic word and it is the plural of hawra. Hawra is singular and al-hur is the plural of it. And the meaning which is given for the hur for hawra, the singular, is a lady whose eyes, the pupil of the eyes are very, very black amidst the very, very shiny whiteness of the surroundings of the eye. Something like the eyes of a gazelle. This is what the exegetes have mentioned, but of course in a more outstanding way. And usually these hur are described with another description, and that is een. Wahurun een. Een again is the plural of aina. Aina is a woman who has very, very big eyes. Aina. And for men, a'yan is used, and we have, of course, this description used as a surname or as a name for men as well in all times, like for example Bukayr ibn A'yan or Abdullah ibn A'yan. And Aina is a woman with very big eyes. Now these maidens of paradise are described or are given a name by one of the most outstanding descriptions of them, the way we see them in paradise, and that is very big black eyes. Hurun een. That means women with very big black eyes. However, this is not the only feature of these maidens which are promised to be there in paradise. There are other things which we may go through here. The only thing is that the name given for them is taken from their physical feature. Wahurun een, which is mentioned in many verses, or وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ een, we make them mate with hurun een. All gives this impression that this physical feature is something very outstanding, which they are given their names by this physical feature of them. Now, just to go through some of the verses to see what are the attributes of these maidens or ladies there, or why they should be there, and are they only for men or for men and women, and these issues that we will discuss here. First of all, these hurul een are different from ladies who go to paradise from human beings or from jinn. If we could call, of course, female jinn to be ladies, but they are different from women created in this world. They are created in paradise and from the material of paradise, completely different from those beings created from the matter in this world. Usually matter, the physical matter used in this world to create things by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has some shortcomings, and therefore that gives some defects to the created being. Not the defect, of course, coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He uses this matter purposely so that the perfection and defection are mixed in this world for what is created. The maidens in paradise, they are created from the material of paradise, and therefore their perfection is complete. Now, we have in several verses in the Quran, for example, لَمْ يَطْمِثْهُنَّ إِنسٌ قَبْلَهُمْ وَلَا جَانٌ. No human and no jinn has previously touched them, these maidens. And of course, when we talk about ins and jinn, we talk about these hur from ins and hur from jinn. In Surah Ar-Rahman, which ins and jinn are mentioned, their paradises are mentioned, and then the description that no ins or no jinn has touched them mean no ins has touched these huris who are created for ins, and no jinn has touched those huris who are created for jinn. Different types, of course. And that means that they were not living before people going to paradise. كَذَلِكَ وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ. We make them mate with hurul in, means that they were not mates before going to that world. It's only in that world that we make them to mate with hurul in. There is one interesting hadith about the creation of Fatima, peace be on her, which might shed some light on the issue. You have heard this hadith, of course. I'm sure all of you have heard the hadith that when Prophet went to paradise in his Mi'raj, or was shown paradise in his Mi'raj, he said that this is, of course, one version of the story. I have reported this from Uyun Akhbar al-Raza. That's فَإِذَا أَنَا بِرُطَبٍ أَلْيَنُ مِنَ الزَّبَدْ وَأَطْيَبُ رَائِحَةٍ مِنَ الْمِسْكِ. When Jibreel was taking me a tour of paradise to show me what is in there, then someone offered me a date. And that date was softer than cream, and more fragrant than musk, and sweeter than honey. And I took that date which was offered to me, I ate it, and that somehow changed to a nutfa, a seed in my back. And when I came back and I went to Khadija, then Fatima was produced out of what I had eaten in paradise. And then the Prophet says, what is related to our discussion is that فَفَاطِمَةُ حَوْرَاءٌ إِنسِيَّةٌ. Fatima, therefore, is a hawra. Well, we say huri, of course. Is something between human and between hawra, between the maidens created in paradise, between the ladies created in this world, something in between, because the seed which created her came from the paradise. And therefore, whenever I feel that I'm eager to hear, to smell the fragrance of paradise, I smell Fatima, peace be on her. This description, which is very famous, you probably have seen this in many places, Fatima to Hawra'un Insiyah. Fatima is something between Hawra and human being, comes from the very fact of the matter which was the seed for the origination or for creation of Fatima, peace be on her. And this tells us that the matter from which those hur are created is completely different from the matter from which we are created in this world. The second description mentioned in the Quran about these hur, which is, of course, very telling and tells us lots of things about it is that they are قاصرات الطرف, as is mentioned here. عندهم قاصرات الطرف. With them will be maidens of restrained glances. Now, the exegetes say the meaning of restrained glance means that their attention is only and only directed towards their mates. They do not want anything else. They are not somehow entertained by anything else. It is something which is created in a way out of the heart and soul of the person who owns them or who is their mate or who is their friend or whatever. The type of attention and love and affection that they have for their mates in paradise is so that they cannot think about anything else. And this shows, well, if we ponder a little bit, this shows that they have come from the very innermost feelings, thoughts, or actions of the people who are rewarded them in paradise. And this, of course, is mentioned in many, many traditions. You do this, you say this, you think this, and God gives you one of these huris, for example. And this means that it is something that is created out of your soul, something, and it's only then that they have that restrained glances, that they are completely restricted. Their attention, their feelings, their affections, their love, everything is restricted only to the person who is rewarded them. So this is the second thing mentioned in the Quran. And the third thing is أتراب وكواعب أترابا كواعب أترابا وكأسا دحاقا. Or here it says وعندهم قاصرات الطرف أتراب. أتراب here it's of course translated as of like age. I don't know in your Qur'ans what is the translation of it, but like age, like in any other aspect, there is a commensurability between these hawra or hur and between the people who are rewarded them. This principle of commensurability, they are commensurate to the action of the people who own them or who are rewarded them. I don't know whether we can say own them or rewarded them because we don't know how would be the relationship there in paradise. But there is this commensurability. Here, of course, the most immediate meaning that has come to the mind of the exegetes about atrab is of like age. But there are different interpretations. For example, Allama Tabatabai rahmatullah alayh says that إنهن أمثال لأزواجهم. They are similar in character and in beauty to their mates. What that means, the more the light, the more the faith of the person, the more beauty and the more good character will be found in these hur, in the hawras of paradise. So this commensurability is another thing. The fourth thing mentioned about them is that they are only seen by their mates. No one else can see them in paradise. And this is mentioned in many different verses and many different traditions. So no one knows how many hurs or what type of hurs another person would have. And for example, in Surah Ar-Rahman, we have hurun maqsuratun fil khiyam. There are hur there which are restricted to their pavilions. They never come out of a pavilion, which is, of course, a private property for the people who go there. Even when they come and sit together, they talk. The Quran says, Hurun maqsuratun fil khiyam, and they have with them pavilions set up for them. And in traditions, we have very different descriptions of these pavilions having golden doors and all these things. And these hur are in there. They are not exposed to other things. وَحُورٌ عِينٌ كَأَمْثَالِ اللُّؤْلُؤِ الْمَكْنُونِ. And there are these big-eyed, big black-eyed maidens who are like concealed pearls. No one can see them, of course, except those who are given them as a reward. The fifth thing that we have to bear in mind about them is that they are different from the servants that we find in paradise. We know in paradise there are servants who serve. And these are sometimes called غِلْمَانٌ مُخَلَّدُونَ وَإِنْدَهُمْ غِلْمَانٌ لَهُمْ. Also there are غِلْمان there, young waiters, young servants, who are young forever, of course. And these are the people who serve. There are many different explanations about who these are. For example, are they human beings? Are they again created beings of paradise? In many exegetical books, you find that these are the children of non-Muslims who die. They do not deserve a reward because their parents were not Muslim. They have not done any action. If their parents were Muslim, they would have joined their parents in paradise as people of paradise. However, since their parents were not Muslims, they have not acquired any action themselves to deserve any reward. They would not go to hell, certainly, because, of course, they haven't done anything wrong. They were children. They are given that status in paradise as serving and, of course, living there. Of course, there are theological problems with this type of idea, because a child should go to paradise anyhow when they die, if they die as a child. And therefore, it's very difficult to say that if the child belongs to a kafir family, then they should be servants. If they belong to a mu'min family, they join the families. Anyhow, we don't know. We better not go deep into these issues which we are not given knowledge about. The only thing is that in paradise there are servants. And these servants, ghilman, contrary to what some ignorant people have written, that the hur are given to men and ghilman are given to women. As, for example, the men have hur, hawra, the maidens, the women have ghilman. This is completely wrong notion. These ghilman are just servants there. They serve men and they serve women, both of them. And also, these hurs themselves, they have servants. They are not there to serve. They are there just to accompany, to somehow offer a sort of relaxation and relief to people who are their mates. So in many traditions that we have that every one of these huris have several hundreds of servants and jariyat and these things which would serve them. And therefore, these hur, of course, hur is only a feminine word, which is the plural of hawra. It couldn't be attributed to masculine, and it couldn't be attributed to neutral. It's a feminine word. Ghilman is a masculine word. So these ghilman would serve both the human beings there and the huris there, the men there, the women there. The sixth thing is that these huris who are created there, they are completely away from any human impurity. They are completely pure, purely godly. And when the Prophet, of course, peace be on him, says, Fatima tu hawra'un insiya, Fatima is something between a hur, a hawra, and a human being. Of course, he means that the aspect of being a hawra is a very pure aspect, certainly. Now, In many places in the Quran, we have that وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ. They have purified mates there. Now, purified mates, they might allude to husbands and wives who live in paradise, of course, together. And, of course, when they go to paradise, they are purified. Before they enter the paradise, they are purified of every evil, every envy, every grudge that people might have against each other. وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ. Whatever ghil, grudge, envy, or whatever we might translate ghil, we take out of their hearts before we let them in paradise. And when they are let in paradise, then they are completely pure of these issues. And therefore we can say, if when God says لَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ, in there they have purified mates, it might allude to husbands and wives, human beings who go to paradise. However, since it says in there are azwaj for them who are purified, the first thing which is understood by that is these huris, hawra, hurs, which of course are purified creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I said, they are created out of the matter of paradise, physically, and they are created only to somehow offer good things to their mates. Good things means things which elevate their spiritual growth, and therefore they have to be pure, they have to be purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the only question here is that if we have these descriptions about these hur, are these only for men, or women would have hur as well? The very term hur, which is feminine, which is the plural of hawra, tells us that, of course, this is something which is created to give the men the pleasure of the company. However, we have some traditions which says that even women might have the company of these without, of course, the pleasure of the opposite sex. In a tradition reported by Ali ibn Ja'far, the brother of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, another son of Imam Ja'far, he reports from his brother Musa ibn Ja'far from his father from his fathers up to the Prophet, peace be on him, that إذا كان يوم القيامة نادى مناد يا معشر الخلائق غضوا أبصاركم ونكسوا رؤوسكم حتى تمر فاطمة بنت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. When the day of judgment comes, a caller would call out that you people who are on the arena of the day of resurrection, cast down your eyes and turn down your heads, because Fatima wants to come and pass on the Sirat. Well, every human being would pass on the Sirat, and when Fatima wants to come and pass on the Sirat, of course, there is this very splendid occasion, and all people are told that they have to cast their eyes down, and the Fatima is going to pass through with honor and with due respect which is due to her. فَتَكُونُ أَوَّلَ مَنْ تُكْسَى. She is the first woman, or the first human being which would be given dress to put on the day of judgment. And from the paradise, some come to receive him, to receive her. And these are 12,000 hawra, 12,000 hawra. 12,000 of these hurs come to receive her, and 50,000 angels. Of course, angels are different from hawra. Angels are have no sex, no gender, sorry. Angels have no gender. You can't say whether they are male or female because they are not human beings. But this hawra have gender. And the 12,000 hawra and 50,000 angels come to receive her. Now, whether this is out of respect, whether these hawra are companies of other men in paradise who have come to receive Fatima, or they are going to be with her to somehow, because these are purified, completely purified beings there, to accompany her when she goes here and there in paradise, we don't know. But the very idea of what we have about men in this world, and that is men can marry different women, but women cannot marry but one man, is something which we can gather from different reports and also from the overall implication of verses of the Quran, that this is going to be the case in paradise as well. The women of this world, of course, who go to paradise are much more respected than the hawra who are created from paradise, because hawra are created there. They have not gone through any tests. They have not acquired anything by their actions. They are actually the outcome of the action of the people, of human beings in this world. So human beings are much higher than them in paradise. And this is what we have in many traditions, that ladies who go to paradise from this world are much, much above the Hurul Ain who are created there. Because these are the ones who have acquired paradise, and those are the ones who are just created in paradise. And whatever is created in paradise is created for those who go there. It is actually an outcome of their actions. And therefore, the women, the ladies who go there in paradise are much higher than Hurul Ain. However, apparently, what the overall implication of these literature give us is that the ladies who go to paradise, they don't need such companies. The men need such companies due to their nature, but the ladies don't need such company. And of course, when we talk about paradise, you just throw away whatever conception you have about size, enormity, time, because there is something which we cannot imagine. It's impossible for us to imagine what is there in terms of size, in terms of eternity and enormity. And as I said, when we were in the wombs of our mothers, we never could have imagined such a world. It is out of proportion completely with what we might have imagined in the womb of our mothers. The paradise also is the same. It is out of our imagination. It's out of proportion completely with what we can imagine in this world. Just I'll give you one example. It's a very interesting example about the month of Ramadan. I was going through a hadith which was describing the reward that Allah gives a person for every day of fasting Ramadan. And the hadith is very long, mentioning the whole 30 days of Ramadan. And it says that on the 6th day, when a person fasts, on the 6th day of Ramadan, Allah would reward them 1,000 cities in paradise. That in every city there is 1,000 palaces. And in every palace there are 1,000 houses or rooms, houses probably. And in every of those houses there are 1,000 thrones. And on every throne there will be one huri, which is accompanied by 300 servants. And such and such. I mean, the enormity of what you can imagine through these traditions in paradise is completely out of proportion with what we can imagine here. And therefore, when we talk about the status of women in paradise, the status of men in paradise, how their relationship will be with God, what they need there, what they don't need there. We shouldn't certainly, first of all, compare it with what is in this world, and secondly, try even to extend or stretch our ideas about, for example, feminism or the equality of men and women and all these things. We shouldn't stretch it to paradise, certainly. It's a completely different world, a place where everyone enjoys every minute of it. And when we say minutes, of course, a minute might have no meaning because it's eternity. And you might, for example, sit and chat with someone that you like for 500 years. And, well, it doesn't matter because you are not short of time at all. You completely can take your time with everything which is there. You might just sit and eat for 100 years. And it doesn't make any difference whether to eat for 1 hour or 1 year or 100 years because you are not short of time. Here we are really short of time, aren't we? I mean, 60, 70 years, 80 years, it's just nothing. It's just a blink of an eye. But there you are not in short of time. And that's why sometimes you hear descriptions about paradise that you are amazed. For example, why this person, for example, spends 500 years doing this, 200 years doing that? Well, because everything is taken to somehow give you the utmost effect in the final, of course, purpose of being in paradise, and that is to bring you closer and closer to God. In every aspect, of course, in terms of joy, pleasure, understanding, knowledge, ma'rifah, everything is there to help you to somehow lift and elevate yourself towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, what we understand from all these things is that, yes, there might be a company of huris for ladies as well, but this is just as a matter of honor, as a matter of friendship, not as a matter of a sort of gender-laden thing. But for men, of course, it is the case. They have the pleasure of having the opposite sex with them as well, the opposite gender, which are huris, which are feminine. There, as we understand from all these verses. Now, there is a very beautiful hadith in Kafi from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, who said, يقول الرجل من شيعته. He was talking to one of his Shia, one of his followers, that أنتم الطيبون. This is probably referring to the verse الطيبون الطيبات للطيبين والطيبون للطيبات أولئك مبرؤون, the verse in Surah Nur. You are the pure ones, أنتم الطيبون ونساؤكم طيبات, and your wives, your women are طيبات, are the pure ones. كل مؤمنة حوراء عيناء. In paradise, every woman, every mu'mina, every lady, is of course hawra'un ayna, big black-eyed. Of course, as I said, the physical description of these huris, which is the most outstanding. And that means, of course, describing a mu'mina with this physical feature would mean that they would have other features of these, of course, added by the features that they have acquired by their actions in this world. And also, again, from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, about the verse in Surah Ar-Rahman, فِيهِنَّ خَيْرَاتٌ حِسَانٌ. Now, the verses, of course, in Surah Ar-Rahman, again, is describing the huris, which are then وَعِنْدَهُمْ قَاصِرَاتُ الطَّرْفِ لَمْ يَطْمِثْهُنَّ إِنسٌ قَبْلَهُمْ وَلَا جَانٌ. And then for the lower paradise, it says فِيهِنَّ خَيْرَاتٌ حِسَانٌ. Khayrat, of course, are those with good character, and hisan are those with beauty, with physical beauty. So khayratun hisan, which is usually understood to be, again, the description of the hur, there it means that they have very, very nice character and very beautiful physical construction. And Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, this is of course not about the hur. Khayratun hisan, قال هن صوالح المؤمنات. Al-Arifat. These are the mu'minat who go from this world to paradise, and they are Arifat there. This is very important, very beautiful descriptions mentioned about the women from this world going to paradise. Sawalihul mu'minat al-arifat. Arifa, of course, is someone who has ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think this is the most beautiful description that someone could be given in paradise, to be arif or arifa, to have the ma'rifah of Allah. Because the main purpose of being in paradise is to increasing that ma'rifah. And the women described as arifat is, of course, a very outstanding feature. We have this very beautiful hadith as well, that's Hamalatul Quran, Urafa'u Ahlil Jannah, those who carry the Quran in their hearts. Of course, the meanings of the Quran in their heart, they are Urafa of paradise. It means that there might be some people in paradise with very little ma'rifah. Of course, they will increase ma'rifah, but when they go to paradise, they have very little ma'rifah. And they have a station which is probably the lowest station. They have all those physical splendors that everyone is given, but the ma'rifah is very low. They have to increase. But some people go in paradise, which others would tell them, these are urafa, this is arif, this is arifa, for example. And for a person to be described as arif and arifa in paradise, it means that the level of their knowledge and understanding should be much higher than others. And of course, all would increase in that together, all move higher and higher. Those who carry the Quran in their hearts in this world, they are going to be the urafa of Ahlul Jannah. And Imam says that Sawalihul Mu'minat al-Arifat are these khayratun hisan. قال قلت حور مقصورات في الخيام. Then what is the meaning of hur, who are restrained in the pavilions? He said, of course, these are the creations in paradise which are created there. Al-mudmaratul mukhaddarat fil khiyam. They are, of course, concealed completely in khiyam. Probably the ladies of these world are not completely concealed, so there would be a social interaction between them and others in paradise. However, these hurs are completely concealed. They are not seen by anyone but by their own mates. And again, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq said, Al-Khayratul Hisan min nisa'i ahl al-dunya. These Khayratul Hisan are the ladies of this world. وَهُنَّ أَجْمَلُ مِنَ الْحُورُ الْإِينِ. They are much more beautiful than those Hurul In who are created there. And it should be the case, because the beauty, of course, comes from the actions there. Certainly the beauty, especially the physical beauty, even on the Day of Judgment, before entering paradise, we have that the faces on that day of resurrection, some faces are disfigured in a very ugly way. وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ هُمْ مِنَ الْمَغْبُوحِينَ, about the Pharaoh and his followers, who were not very ugly in this world, of course. He says, on the Day of Judgment, they are from among the ugly ones. The ugly ones, because the physical appearance of people on the Day of Judgment, resurrection, and especially in paradise and hell, is somehow defined by their actions. And therefore, if this is the case, so people who go to paradise, all of them should be very beautiful and handsome, because, of course, the physical appearance is defined by their actions. This is what I could gather from what is mentioned about Hurul In paradise. And, of course, the room is open for discussion and for, of course, further investigation. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِهِ الطَّاهِرِينَ.
Thank you very much indeed, Sheikh, for this clear description and discussion. So, sisters, would you like to take up the discussion?
Why? This is a topic for men, not for sisters.
Well, let's start with the ladies, so that then they can, the men can debate then. Sisters, anybody?